Hello fellow lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I am excited to be talking about one of the grittiest, darkest, most human science fiction stories that I've read in a long time, and that is Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky Brothers. I'm sorry if I say that wrong. Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. And of course, this story is very popular due to the fact that it was made into a film named Stalker, which was huge. But before I get into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this book. The concept of this book is really simple and very interesting. It's a first contact book about aliens coming and going on planet Earth, and we never actually see the aliens, but they leave behind what seems like a bunch of random stuff in these zones where they landed. And these zones kind of become contaminated in a very difficult to explain way by these alien artifacts. And the book revolves around the scientists that study the artifacts there at the institution right by one of these zones. But more importantly, it focuses on stalkers. And these are people that risk their lives by breaking into the zone and avoiding traps and pitfalls and weird alien things and grabbing alien technology and bringing it out and selling it to the highest bidder. Sometimes they do it to help scientists. Sometimes they do it to sell to the black market. But there's an entire trade that's come up around these zones where these aliens landed. That's really it. That's the synopsis of the book. And it sounds like not a lot goes on, but so much does. And this is, I think, the real power of this book. Before I get too much into it, just moving on from the synopsis, let's talk a little bit about the publication of this book. The Strugatsky Brothers wrote this in 70 and 71. And then they fought with the Russian censors for 7 to 8 years to get it published. And it was such a fight that I think that it left Boris, who wrote the epilogue to this version. I think this is also the SF Masterworks version. Is the same inner text block. This has soured him so much that he wrote a beautiful epilogue that was mainly focused on how difficult it was to get this book past the Russian censors in order to be published. So it was written in 70 and 71. It was published, I think, in Russia in early 77 or late 76. And then it was published for the first time into English in 1977. And I just happened to find this book at a bookstore. I did a book haul video with this in it. And I was reading this one very happily until I did a quick look at the Wikipedia page and found out that this first English version is affected by the censors. There's parts of this that have been cut out because of the Russian censors. So I immediately stopped reading this one and went and bought this one, the 2012 version, although this might be a later print of it. I just ran to Barnes & Nobles and grabbed this so that I knew I was getting the full text. So if you're going to read this, I highly recommend you get the 2012 version. Also, I looked this up on eBay and stopped reading it immediately because mine is in intensely good condition, and I cannot believe the prices this is selling for on eBay. It's wild. Anyway, the reason I bring all that up is because the 2012 version, or the SF Masterworks version, has an epilogue by Boris, and he talks about how hard it was to get this published, and it was very, very sad to read how much pain he and his brother had to go through to see this published. So I'm glad that we're able to read this. A couple years after it was published, it became a film, and I can't remember the guy's name. Tarkowski, I think. Same guy that did Solaris, made a film called Stalker. and it was based on this novel, and that really brought it to the forefront of a lot of people's minds and made it very, very, very popular. And then in the early 80s, there was a video game released called, I think, Stalker, that was highly inspired by this book. And that brought the book even more to the people's attention, and it's become a sci-fi classic because of that. Ursula K. Le Guin does the foreword in this book, and it's really good. It's short, but it's really good. And one of the things that she said is the great thing about this book is that it is a first contact novel, but instead of dealing with the elitists that would usually deal with these situations in most sci-fi books, this book looks at how first contact would affect the lives of the lowest rungs of society in this book, right? We follow the stalkers, people that just live in the town or came to the town specifically to risk their lives to crawl illegally into these zones and try to pull out alien technology. And they are, like I said earlier, rough, gritty, and live hard lives. And that's the true power of this book. It is a dark read, but it's not a hopeless read. It's really, really enjoyable. I never was like, oh, this is too sad. I don't want to read this. There's moments like that I had with Cormac McCarthy's The Road, where I'm reading it going, this is absolutely brilliant and too freaking dark. This one is dark, and it has huge philosophical statements about society, but it never gets so dark that it's hard to read. I still feel that there is hope in this book. I highly recommend this. I think that this is going to go up very high on my year-end ranking of all the books I've read. I think this is going to be pretty high up on the list. If you've already read this, let me know what you think of it in the comments. I know that I've already gotten a lot of comments from you guys on the community post I made saying I was going to read this. And I've gotten a lot of comments about how much people loved it, and one comment about how somebody felt it was just absolutely awful. I love hearing these kind of things from you guys. Put them in the comments. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I highly recommend that you read this. And when you do, get the 2012 version so that you're reading it the way the Strugatsky Brothers intended it to be read, not after the Russian censors had gotten a hold of it. All right, I am going to do a deep read of this book where I really go into my thoughts and feelings and interpretations on the book, and also, of course, do a lot of plot spoiling so that I'm able to talk about my interpretation. That'll be out in a couple of days. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. If you liked it, please click like. If you like this kind of content, please click subscribe. We'll be making a lot more of it in the future. Thank you so much for watching.